Good evening. This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. We have the presence of a quorum. The meeting has been duly called and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And as always, after we reconvene with executive session, we'll start out with the prayer and the pledge. Ms. Atkins.
Let us bow, please. O Lord, how excellent is thy name throughout the earth. Thank you, Father, for this day that wasn't promised. We thank you for life, health, and strength. Thank you for our superintendent, his staff, principals, teachers, nurses, and everyone involved in Tyler ISD, especially our students. Bless them and keep them safe. I'm asking a special blessing for these thy people. Thank you, Father, for bringing us thus far in this year. You have kept us safe, and we thank you. Bless our community and our community leaders. Let us do what is right and pleasing in thy sight. Help our students to overcome bullying and peer pressure. Have them walk boldly into their purpose. Thank you for allowing our district to continue having successful outcomes for all of our students. Comfort those who experience extreme weather that ended in death. Let there be peace during confusion. Let there be hope where there is no hope. Let us find joy and comfort during this season of your birth. We ask all these blessings. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Atkins. As always, we'll move on to special recognitions.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
We are excited to have our special recognitions in person tonight. We would like to begin by announcing our December District Students of the Month. The elementary student of the month is Ureli Arredondo, a 5th grade student at Bonner Elementary School. The secondary student of the month is Thomas Schick, an 8th grade student at Caldwell Arts Academy. At this time, let's watch a brief video about these two outstanding students. Tyler ISD would like to recognize the efforts of our 2 district students of the month. These students are nominated by their teachers and school principals. Students are recognized for their excellence in many areas, including academics, leadership, campus, and community involvement. These outstanding qualities lead to successful student outcomes both in and outside of the classroom. We would like to introduce our first student of the month, a 5th grader from Bonner Elementary School.
Hi, my name is Ureli Arredondo. I am Tyler ISD Elementary Student of the Month for December.
She's known by her classmates as Lily and for her positive attitude and acts of kindness. She often takes the time to help students with their work whenever needed.
I like to help my classmates because I like to see them know that they can do it, and I like it when they can solve the problem and be able to learn how to do it.
Lily works hard, and her efforts put her at the top of her class. Her teacher, who nominated her for this award, is excited to see where life takes this exceptional girl.
Not only are you respectful to teachers, but you're also so respectful to your classmates too. And I know I really appreciate that. They really appreciate that. You work so hard consistently every single day. And those are just a few of the reasons why we nominated you.
In Tyler ISD, we are committed to graduating all students with the knowledge, skills, and habits necessary for success in college, careers, and life. Congratulations to these students for their hard work. Sponsored by Texas Bank and Trust. And we would like Ureli to come on up here to the front. We would also like to call up our secondary student of the month, Thomas Schick. He is an 8th grade student from Caldwell Arts Academy. Yes, I guess you can start over there. And Tommy, we do have a video of you, I promise. We're trying to figure out what happened to it right now. So please forgive me, but we will get it out there. And we would also like to recognize Kima LeMay. She is a 12th grade student from Tyler Legacy High School. She just won the first place in the Congressional Art Competition, and her artwork is going to hang in the U.S. Capitol, and you can see that artwork on the screen behind you right now. It's absolutely beautiful. Also with us tonight, we have Quinn Squires. She is a 5th grade student from Caldwell Arts Academy, and she is being honored tonight for creating the artwork used for the 2021 District Christmas card, which you can also see on the screen. Go ahead. Congratulations. And now for our staff recognitions, we are going to celebrate our District Teacher of the Month, David Wynn, a biology and chemistry teacher at Tyler Legacy High School. Mr. Wynn is always finding ways to engage his students in the classroom. From stations to activities, he helps make biology and chemistry come alive. For example, he had the highest percentage of students with master's level on the benchmark. This year, he created an esports club for students interested in gaming, and Wynn has created a very inclusive environment for all students on campus to be involved in an organization. Some of the nonverbal students are now engaging with other students through this gaming club that he has formed. Mr. Wynn embodies what it means to put students first. Congratulations to Mr. Wynn. Tyler ISD would also like to recognize the heroic efforts of Virginia Ginger Davis, an ISS assistant from Jack Elementary School. Mrs. Davis performed the Heimlich maneuver on a student in the cafeteria, and we applaud her quick response and lack of hesitation to save a student's life. She was not able to join us tonight. And that concludes our recognitions this evening. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations to all of our students and staff who received awards. We're moving on to our public participation portion of the meeting. And before we get started, I will say that just keep in mind, this is a public meeting, and although maybe all the kids might be leaving, there are kids like my own that like to watch these things. So if there's anything that you might say that you wouldn't want a child hearing, keep that in mind and don't say it. Thank you. Okay, our first speaker I'm going to get this wrong just because the handwriting is tough for me, but B. Marion or B. Mavian. Are you here? Sorry about that. Hi.
It's okay, Wade Washman. I think I can say your name correctly.
Okay.
Marion, thank you.
Marion, okay.
My name is B. Marion. I would like to address my questions to the board. Wade Washman, Aaron Martinez, Artis Newsom, Yvonne Atkins, Patricia Nation, Lindsay Harrison, and Andy Bergfield. I'd like this to be on public record. How exactly do we teach acceptable values in society in order to nurture the children growing into being productive, well-educated citizens? Do you think young children should be allowed to be children and think about things like nature, loving families, God, and playing with friends? Or in the alternative, do you believe that children should be distracted with thoughts of objectification, use of others, and perversion, and even bestiality? Do you think on some level you have sold out for money, power, or simply attention and pleasing others? Have you lost your values? What are your values? And how much do you value protecting children's innocence and their education? Do you remember losing your values? Is it worth it? What exactly do you stand for? Do you still feel a small, gentle voice, a whisper calling you? Do you ignore it? What would it look like to answer that voice, that call? Do you pretend you've met your obligations as board members while allowing pedophilia into the schools? Do you think the people of Tyler's wishes are being represented by you allowing child pornography and bestiality to remain in the schools, library? As people who claim to be Christian on your board profiles, do you think allowing grooming materials for pedophilia in public places is reflective of Christian behavior? Wade Washman, does Green Acres Baptist Church approve of you allowing pornography into Tyler schools?
I can't respond legally, so it's all you. All yours.
You can respond, sir.
Just did. Thank you.
Okay, you can respond later then. We'll look forward to the answer on that, Wade. Lindsay Harrison, how do the people of Children's Advocacy Center and board feel about you allowing pornography into Tyler schools? Aaron Martinez, how does Bethel Bible Church feel about you allowing pornographic material into Tyler schools? Artis Newsom, how do the other elders at North Tenaha Church of Christ feel about you allowing pornographic materials to be viewed by children? Yvonne Atkins, First Lady, how do the members of Victory Temple Church of God in Christ feel about you allowing the corruption of children with pornographic materials? Patricia Nation, how does New Harmony Baptist Church feel about you allowing the corruption of children with pornographic materials? Finally, Andy Bergfield, attorney, how do the people of First Baptist Church feel about you allowing pedophilia materials into Tyler schools? Do you think just because Dr. Marty Crawford has 3 degrees in education, including a PhD in administration, that you can claim Dr. Crawford and the current librarian knew exactly what is going on while keeping you ignorant of the corruption of children under your charge? Or do you think staff claiming an inability to perform their job duties somehow exculpates you? Do you look at child pornography? Do you practice bestiality? Or you believe in the Marxist ideology like the books that you promote and allow in Tyler? The filthy material that corrupts young people. Do you think minor attracted person laws should be passed in Tyler as a way of relaxing and normalizing child molestation? Is that what you want ultimately? Is that your goal, to be more like San Francisco? Finally, why should the people Tyler ever trust you to discharge your obligations properly when you have allowed pornographic materials for months to be accessed by children? Exactly how long have these books, so-called books, been accessible to our young people? When did it start? More importantly, when will it end? And how do we ensure it will never happen again? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marion. Okay. Looks like we have Monica Jean. We also ask those in the audience to refrain from responding to the speaker's comments, including cheering and applauding. It's something we commonly do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monica Jean. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm also a registered nurse. I worked in the Texas prisons for over 10 years, and part of my clientele included 250 pedophiles. I've seen their crimes and the very devastating consequences of those crimes. The state of Texas had to house them separately from the general prison population because 80%, some people say 90%, of inmates have been sexually abused as children. Pedophiles have been murdered when left in the general population of the prison, and Texas is obliged to protect them. I have a colleague that ran a sex offender program for over 15 years. Not one pedophile was ever able to be rehabbed. These people are not fixable. I understand that the Tyler school libraries are now exposing children to highly disturbing pornographic material. That is what pedophiles do. Part of grooming children is to expose them to pornography. By this exposure, you are setting these children up to be victims of sexual abuse, and possibly, some of them actually are abused as children, and then they become pedophiles themselves. They repeat the behavior that happened to them. Would you like this done to your child or grandchildren? Are you trying to legalize pedophilia in Tyler? Is that what this is that what you're trying to accomplish? Because it's diabolical. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. All right. Okay, next we have Cody Grace. How you doing, Mr. Grace?
Doing well. How are y'all? You can't answer
Great.
that. I'm not going to drill you on any pedophilia things or anything like that. I just want you to know that I think that you're doing a good job, personally. I think our schools are great. My child is in Caldwell. We love Caldwell. We just had an amazing performance last week. Personally, I do not see any evidence of pedophilia in TISD, but I am concerned that there is some literary tools being pulled out of the library. From what I understand, there isn't a direct policy procedure on that. So what I would like to ask is that we develop some sort of policy and procedure on content moderation within the school library system, just to prevent any sort of accusations. And outside of that, I think you guys are doing an awesome job, and look forward to more. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grace. Okay, next we have Jacqueline Willis.
Hi, Jacqueline Willis, and I want to thank all of you people that have so graciously stepped up to volunteer for our children in this beautiful town of Tyler and Smith County. The general population are aghast at some of the people that come up here and claim to know that our children are being sexually abused or reading material that will just make them a degenerate. These are not based on facts. These are not based on observations in our town. It is totally obnoxious to even think that we have to ban books in this day and age. We have a totally capable librarian in this town and in other towns. And as you know, this is a nationwide campaign to discredit our schools for corporate America, for charter schools. God forbid. We need our public schools, and we need all the volunteers and all the people here. And our educators are great. There are no studies that I know of, and all these blanket accusations, as I say, that, oh my God, the sky is falling because, listen, we could have 150 books in the library, and someone in this room could find a problem with at least one of them. So how many books will we be left with? So let's say that our parents and our children in this town, as in most towns in America, have more knowledge and discipline to watch their children, what they're reading, and have their own values. And by the way, whose values are we to go by? Is it Green Acres that controls this county? Because a lot of you go to Green Acres. Are they the ones that's going to tell us what we can read and what we can't? Suppose I was Jewish or Muslim or atheist, God forbid. Come on, let's just find a way to let's slow walk this banning books, because banning books could be burning books or maybe burning people at the stake. Really, let's calm down. We had a plan that worked. Maybe it needs to have a little bit of oversight. That may be true. That would be fine. But I would say common sense tells you that the majority of people in Tyler, Texas, and Smith County are not freaking out because we have this or that book. There was never a problem before, and I think we need to just calm down and relax. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Willis. Okay, we have Jennifer White coming up. Hi, Ms. White.
Good evening.
Evening.
Okay. I'm a parent. I'm a registered nurse. And I find it really ironic that you have to give a warning not to say inappropriate things, because what has happened in other districts is reading material from the library, such as a book that you recently removed at our request for you to review these things. It's called Lawn Boy. What if I told you I touched another guy's dick? What if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I put Doug Goebel's dick in my mouth.
I don't want to stop you, but look behind you. Why don't you look at her when you're saying that?
Okay, this was in a library that you funded and you stocked.
I understand.
That person would be going to that school. That should tell you enough. You have to stop me. It's inappropriate. And for anybody to say that there's no problem with the books, yes, sir, there is. I had a very nice, pleasant statement prepared. I will start reading that now, but you get the gist of why. And hopefully anybody that listens knows we are not trying to censor our children. We're trying to protect them. As parents, we have the duty of care, control, and protection of our children. We have the legal right to direct our children's moral training and to make decisions concerning our children's education. Materials with content meant to sexually arouse readers were intentionally placed on library shelves, such as that book. There is no literary, I really don't care what you think about any kind of benefit that they might get, other than that's going to get somebody aroused, a child. That is pedophilia. It is grooming. Some of the books have been removed, and it's a start. There's been no transparency in this process and no parental involvement in this process. Those things are necessary for public trust, which you have lost a lot of. The board also said it believes certain topics have no place in our schools, but these materials were made available. What's being changed so that our children are protected? We need answers to that, and we need some transparency. Exposure to sexually explicit material at even junior high level has proven to have an impact on poor sexual health choices later in mental health. We need accountability. Parents also need to be given easier access to review and notification of library activity of their children. Because even if the worst of the sexually explicit material is removed, we still have the right to know and to guide our children when they're choosing material in order to participate in their education. As for some children, this might help parents identify needs for more mental health support or other issues that they may have going on that we don't know about. Children don't always come home with their library books and make them available for parents to see what they're reading. It would be good to know if your child is even looking at bullying. Have a book about drugs. Those kind of things are warning signs. We need to know. But we can't do that with a blindfold on. I urge you all to continue the process that you began, make it more transparent, get parents involved. We want to be involved. And to ensure a safe library experience for our kids so that they truly grow a love of learning and reading for enjoyment, not for sexual arousal. Thank you.
Okay, Bob Brewer.
I guess we're done with the minors in here.
Well, they're still watching on TV.
Thanks again. Well, they can turn it off. No matter what the question or no matter what the subject, my topic is always the same. It's the foundation of American law, the reason the Constitution was written, and the oath that you swore to protect and defend that Constitution and that foundation. In the first sentence of the entirety of U.S. law is the laws of nature, which refers to creation. And when we talk about creation, it's about everyone in this room. It's about every family that you came from. It's about every family that you nurture and raise. And a big part of that is the education of those children, and that's what we're doing here today. Educating our children with our God-given unalienable rights to pursue our happiness and raising our families. So, the second part of the first sentence of U.S. law is the laws of nature's God. That is this book, the Bible. That is this book that 17 signers of the Constitution commissioned for the use in schools by providing 10,000 Bibles for the use in schools, and you guys don't even have one. I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing that maybe you have, maybe you do. But anyway, you need to have one in the fingers of every 4-year-old on up that we have in our school. So anyway, the second sentence of U.S. law refers to the truths that we all hold self-evident. It's what every state, every colony signed on to, and every subsequent state did too. And that was to protect our laws of nature and nature's God, and that's the Bible. And we're obviously not doing that when I offered you guys dozens, maybe 100 of Bibles, and you refused to take them for distribution in our schools. But yet you allow a book like this and I'm going to read page 266 without ever having looked at more than the first sentence. And may God forgive me, but this is what's got to be done to get some sanity back in our education system.
Just a clarifying question I can ask. Clarifying question.
This is out of your library, recommended by your librarian.
Right, I'm just going to ask.
Why don't you shut off my time, please?
I'm just going to ask a clarifying question. We've been doing this a long time, Bob. You'll get your time.
I've never done this before.
I know.
In my life.
That's why I'm asking a clarifying question. It's just, would you want a child to hear the words you're about to read?
Would you put this book in the fingers of those children?
I don't know what's in it, but I asked
Well,
a clarifying question.
You should know, because you swore an oath to protect and defend
I've asked my
our
question.
God-given unalienable rights.
I've asked my
And that's to raise our family and educate our children the way, in the eyes of God, He would have us do it.
I've asked my question. I just,
Okay, and I'd like to get my time back.
start time.
I guess that's not going to happen.
I've never cut you off at 0, Bob.
As he kissed, he began unzipping my pants. It was clear to me at this moment that he wasn't new to this. He reached his hand down and pulled out my dick. He quickly went.
Okay, I think we get it.
Okay, this is in your class, this is
Unplug him.
access.
Unplug him.
Okay,
We get it.
I don't think you get it enough.
I think we do.
So
got
why don't
anything
you put this book back in where every one of those books like this currently are? And let me go into your libraries and have a look at what, anytime I want to see what's there. So anyway, we're in a war, and you guys are complicit in it, and you're not following your oath to defend our God-given unalienable rights, God's creations, our children, in the book that they should be studying instead of this stuff.
You got 20-something seconds left. Okay. That is it for public participation. Thank you, everybody who came out to comment publicly tonight. Okay, we're now moving on to the approval of minutes. For a board workshop, November 4th and November 15th for the regular meeting, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I've got a question about those minutes.
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
About those minutes?
About those minutes. I think we read a statement at the November 15th regular meeting in
Yes.
regard to the school district is aware of what's going on. We have processes in place that we are working on the things that were just discussed.
Thank you.
Okay.
And as superintendent, I think we have a policy that says that you have the ability to pull
Extract vulgar,
materials from the
which
library.
that policy's been in place in Texas statute and district policy, board policies for a long time. So it's not like this thing just happened, okay? We've done our job, we're working on it right now, okay? So the hyperbole and the demagoguery that's coming out about this issue, we need to calm the waters a little bit so we can do our job.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
I trust that you're doing your job. We all do. Okay, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of November 4th and November 15th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to our redistricting, which is, we have a presentation here of the proposed final plan for redistricting the district's single-member trustee districts based on 2020 census data. This is something that we get to do every 10 years, and I do believe we have somebody that's going to zoom in, or, right, Mr. Mendez?
Right, David Mendez, District Council, that's assisted us in a couple of redraws on our redistricting. Will join us with Zoom. I'm sure he's been listening in, and it's time for his presentation here. There he is.
How you doing, Mr. Mendez?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so, David Mendez from Bickerstaff, pleased to be here with you all this evening. This is the culmination of the redistricting process for Tyler ISD. As we determined at the beginning of the process, the districts, trustee districts, are slightly out of balance based on the 2020 census. And the trustees adopted guidelines and criteria in order to rebalance the population among the 7 trustee districts in order to allow for a more even distribution of population based on the census among the trustee districts. The correction of the imbalance required very minor changes, and these were accomplished in changes between districts 1 and 2 and 2 and 4. And we adopted criteria that said that we were going to we were going to use 2020 census data. We were going to try to maintain the location of each of the trustees in their existing districts and to try to minimally impact the constituency that they represent. That we were going to try to adopt boundaries that followed the county election precincts, and if necessary, we would split those, but only to the extent necessary to undertake those, to make those changes. The other efforts we did, or policies that we had, related to maintaining the ability of minority populations in the existing districts to elect representatives of their choice. And finally, we were going to try to utilize readily identifiable geographic boundaries to make any changes so that constituents and voters within the various trustee districts would easily understand which territory each of you as trustees represent. The plan, you all drew some plans. Illustrative Plan 2 is the one that is before you all this evening. It accomplishes a rebalancing. You've got to have, under the law, the populations of the districts must not deviate by more than 10% between the most populous and the least populous district. This plan achieves a 8.65% deviation between the most populous and least populous districts, so it meets the legal standard. It accomplished all the changes with minimal disruption of districts 1 and 2 along the boundary of that district. It modifies 2 election precincts. We had to split 2 election precincts there because the population change is so small we couldn't take whole precincts. And so the line that we drew follows one of the attendance zone boundaries between 2 of the middle schools, so it's an easily identifiable boundary for for citizens in the school district. The other change is between districts 2 and 4, and I think it splits a tiny area of precinct 73. Gina can correct me if I'm wrong. She's an expert on these election precincts. But those were the major differences or changes that we had to make. Actually, they're very minor changes, and the plan is in balance, and a vote by the board tonight would allow the new trustee districts to be used for the upcoming elections. One other thing I want to point out to you, trustees, is that under the Chapter 11 of the Education Code, when you redistrict, you are able to implement the new districts as the terms of trustees expire, but you've got to specify that, and so we have that specified in the order. So as the elections come up next May, whichever trustees are up for election at that time will vacate their positions, and then new ones will be elected there, and then later each year in the decade, as elections are held, the new plan will be implemented. Are there questions for me, trustees, about the plan or the process?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Mendez? I think over the last few meetings, we've familiarized ourselves with these changes. I think everybody last meeting pretty much indicated that they are comfortable with those changes, so good job, and I don't think anybody has any questions.
The only comment I have is, I felt like we were going to get a correct map of District 6 and District 7 for tonight to look at, but it's the same map that we've had all along, and I know the software issue, whatever, but I just hated to approve something that wasn't correct on that boundary.
Mr. Mendez, are you familiar with the south boundary line of District 7 where it meets District 6? And I think the GIS overlay in y'all's software didn't quite match up with what was originally done 10 years ago and Smith County Appraisal District had. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, yeah, no, I am familiar, and I'll assure the board that we will deliver a map that depicts that, the contiguity of that area in District 6 along the bottom there. And I apologize. The one I'm looking at on my screen shows the contiguity, and I just didn't realize that when we printed, the one you have been printed in front of you doesn't have that. But mine, I'm looking at it online and it has it, so I just assumed you had the same thing I did. I apologize for the discrepancy, and we will make sure that that is the way that is drawn in the final map that is proposed for adoption. That is a contiguous connection there.
Trustees, we're going to put something up on the screen for you that's going to be on your video right here in front of you as well. Joseph, bear with us, David.
Sure.
Yeah, put your mic on.
Go to the bottom page. Keep going. All the way to the last one.
Can you zoom in to the bottom of 7 right there?
Right.
There you go.
So here's your close-up of your 6 and 7. I know you have the electronic version so you can zoom in, but if you'll notice, it does show the clear cohesiveness of District 6.
Okay.
So we can post that one
It is
online.
posted online.
That one's actually posted online.
It is
With
posted
that-
online. It's been posted, yeah.
With the area close-up on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was kind of hand-drawn last time, whatever we posted online, to show a little bit more connectivity there, but that's the one that's online now.
They have actually, Sherry McCall from Bickerstaff Heath has actually gone in and researched those maps and drawn it, and that's what.
Change the shape file.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
She has.
And it comports with the boundaries of the district as reported to the TEA. So the reason for the discrepancy originally was the county had a map that isn't exactly like what your legal boundaries are, and this close-up depicts that properly.
Okay, it just isn't in my book. That's all I was saying, is that we're voting on something that is not in front of me, and that was all. But if it's taken care of and it's going to be, the correct one's going to be with it, I'm fine.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Mendez?
No, other than thank you all for letting us have the opportunity to assist you with it. It's been our pleasure to work with the board and with the community.
Okay. Well, we appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening. Merry Christmas.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have a discussion of the proposed redistricting plan by the board and any amendments, if necessary, to finalize the proposed plan for adoption and possible adoption. So, any discussion on this from any of our board members here tonight? We've talked about it a good bit over the last few meetings, so.
Motion to adopt the resolution adopting illustrative Plan 2 that redistricts the Tyler ISD single-member trustee district lines using 2020 census data.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to our debt service financial update, and I do believe we have Dusty Traylor here with us today. Welcome back to Tyler, Mr. Traylor.
Good evening. Mr. Washington Board, Dr. Crawford, again, Dusty Traylor with RBC Capital Markets, have the honor and privilege of not only being a Tyler ISD graduate, but financial advisor to the district. So it's always a great opportunity for me to just come and visit with the board. So the presentation materials before you, I believe you each have the presentation on your screen, and I think you also have hard copies. Let me know if you need an additional hard copy. So the information tonight is just kind of an update of the district's outstanding bond portfolio. We have not gone through this exercise in several months. I think may have been pre-COVID the last time we did this. So again, great to go through this. If you'll look with me on page number 2 of the presentation, what you see is a chart or a table and then 2 graphs below. Up in the table at the top of the page, we just list the district's outstanding bond profile. These are each and every series of bonds that the district has outstanding currently. You currently have a principal amount of bonds outstanding totaling $378.395 million. And then down below, you will see a graphical depiction of the district's annual debt service. So these bars represent the annual payments due on the district's bonds each year to their final maturity. Right now, we have annual debt service in the 2022 fiscal year of around $37 million. However, that includes a little over $8 million of bonds that the district has elected to prepay or to early retire. And the way I like to explain that is much like if you or I, with our home mortgage, were going to make additional principal payments on our home mortgage to help pay that mortgage off sooner. The district is in the process of doing that and has been for quite some time, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. But the reason for the higher debt service this current year is because you guys are paying some additional principal this year. But you'll see there that the principal amount then steps down quite dramatically over time until our final maturity. Then if you'll turn with me to page number 3, what we lay out here is TISD has a history, like we just talked about, of either 1, refinancing outstanding bonds, or 2, paying off certain bonds early. Refinancing a bond is just like if you or I were to take our home mortgage that's outstanding at a higher interest rate, refinancing that to a lower interest rate to reduce our payments. The district has done that many, many times. So going back over the course of about the past 10 years, the district has either refinanced or early paid off bonds totaling $269.7 million. Those decisions by the school district have resulted in debt service savings for the taxpayers of Tyler ISD totaling $59.851 million. So while you guys have gone out and had to take on bonds to make improvements to the district facilities, you have also always kept an eye on the ball of making sure that that is done as affordably as possible. So each and every opportunity that's come up to pay off bonds early or to refinance those bonds, you've done a great job of doing that. That's what's depicted here. Page number 4, we just kind of look at the historical taxable assessed valuation. That's our tax base here within the district, along with the district's tax rate. And the thing I'd really like to point out about this page, twofold. Number 1, TISD has had a growing tax base and seems to be continuing to grow as the Tyler economy is doing well. And then our tax rate history. If we look back over the course of the past 5 fiscal years, going back to fiscal 2018, the district's tax rate has reduced by approximately 11.6 cents. You've brought down the M&O rate. The M&O rate you've largely brought down as a result of compression from the state level, but you have also brought down the INS portion of your tax rate. That's the tax rate that's solely used for the repayment of bond debt. You've brought down that tax rate a total of 3 cents. So again, keeping your eye towards trying to make your bonds as affordable for districts, taxpayers as possible. Now, we did go through the exercise of looking at where we are in terms of the district's potential for bond capacity. And I'll walk you through some of that. On page number 5, what we've done is we've run a model that assumes several factors here, and then we get to a capacity. We assume, obviously, the district's current INS tax rate's 33.5 cents, and that's a reduction. Our model actually assumes that next year's INS tax rate is further reduced by 1 cent to 32.5 cents. We assume that the district's tax base for the current year, net of frozen values, is about $9.244 billion. And then we assume that tax base would continue to grow at approximately 3.5% over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, then remain constant. We also have something new going on here in the state of Texas, or potentially something new going on in the state of Texas. We're potentially going to get an increase in the homestead exemption for our homeowners, going from $25,000 per year to $40,000 per year. Our model takes that into consideration, that further tax break that homeowners are likely going to receive. And then the state is also going to hold the district harmless for some of that. We've built that into our model. We also assume the district collects its taxes at approximately a 99.5% collection rate. Look back over time, and that is very much in keeping with what your historical performance has been. And that's a very, very good tax collection ratio. Then the very bottom bullet point, interest rates. We assumed interest rates for any potential future bond at current market rates plus 100 basis points, or effectively 1% over current market rates. If we were in the market right now for bonds, we'd probably be looking at interest rates a little below 2.5%. So we're using interest rates slightly above 3.5% for our model. All that being said, we would have, because of what you guys have been doing, you've been keeping an eye on your bond portfolio and using the opportunities to pay off bonds early, along with growth in the tax base, you guys would have the ability to finance approximately $100 million without the need to increase the INS tax rate. In fact, like I said, you could even bring that INS tax rate down by 1 cent. One thing I'd also like to point out, and it gets we're getting into the weeds on this, but the next page just kind of provides the spreadsheet where we run our model here. Column I is a column where we say, hey, what if the district were to take all these factors into consideration and even includes a potential $100 million issuance? Could the district still continue its early redemption program? And in column I, what we're showing is that even with all of that, each year going forward, we could still have the opportunity to continue to pay down our existing bonds.
Okay, great. Hey, could you go back to the page that shows how much debt has been retired early through refinancing and paying them off?
Right
Is
there.
that 60 million nearly?
$60 million in debt service savings.
Great. Since 2000?
Going back to 2012.
Okay.
Of that 49 of that savings comes from refinancing. About 10.87 comes from early retiring bonds. I mean, it's a tremendous story to be able to tell what you guys have done.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you for keeping an eye on this, as always, for us. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Traylor?
I think we did some exercises early in the summer before special session, maybe before the session was over, the first session was over. And just a little kudos to the legislature out there too on the homestead stuff, that our capacity then was 175, 150.
Right.
And it kind of compressed it even more on there. So, just a little kudos to the legislature there about the work that they've done and looking out for the taxpayer as well. We don't always give those guys enough credit does make it a little bit tougher when they start talking about compression, but we're all taxpayers here, and we understand that there's that. So they did do some work. In other words, we had a whole lot more capacity before the sessions were over. Then when they closed it down, if the referendum it goes on the ballot in November, I guess?
I think May.
Or in May,
I
that's
think
right.
put it on
in
the ballot for May.
If it does pass, then that it goes into effect and actually increases the homestead exemption. So anyways, that's where we're at.
And
We're
can
still in
you-
good shape.
Can you go back to the slide showing where the tax rate decreases?
Sure.
That slide? Okay, so
The
since.
bar chart on the bottom right.
Okay, yeah. And so the last few years, we've
Yeah,
decreased
18
the
was
tax rate.
was
Yeah.
the year after the bond election
Right.
was passed and went 3 cents. And so we're back down right at where we started. And then by this coming August, it looks like we're probably going another penny down on the INS side and still be able to pay off some debt earlier. So,
Great. We're always keeping
and
that.
that last one, Dusty, go to the last chart, please. If you look at column K, that pretty much says that until 2047 that we hold our INS rate the same. That's him being conservative like he always is.
Well, what holds that the same there is assuming you're using your excess to also pay off additional bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we think that that's probably going to start getting chipped at as well.
You got
Right,
it.
Dusty?
You got it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you continue to pay them off. Yes.
Yep.
Well, we like paying it off early. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your presentation.
Great to see y'all. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Dusty.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that?
Good news.
Great news. Okay. We have A through H here, and B is gifts and donations, so I'd like to pull that so we can talk about it. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to pull on this consent agenda, aside from item B, which is gifts and donations? And if not, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve business, legal, finance, consent, A through H with the exception of B.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, let's talk about gifts and donations.
We're always appreciative of the booster clubs and the sponsors out there that give tireless effort in working with our our students as boosters. And tonight we have $10,000 from the Tyler Legacy Dugout Club to go to the Tyler Legacy baseball program. You know, it hadn't been too long when you close your eyes and see them back there working the concession stands at Rose Stadium, or doing other types of fundraisers for the betterment of our student athletes. And very appreciative of the Tyler Legacy Dugout Club, along with all of our clubs, for providing this extra additional funds, because baseballs are getting expensive. They're not getting cheaper.
It's like a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, yeah. Okay. Well, that is awesome. We're always happy to accept anything that goes to the betterment of our kids' experiences there. So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on that item.
I move we accept the gift from the Legacy Dugout, was it Legacy Dugout Club?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you again for the Tyler Legacy Dugout Club, and your donation. Okay, we have our curriculum, instruction, and consent agenda, items A through E. If anybody wants to pull anything, you can go ahead. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion on that.
I move we approve the items in the curriculum instruction consent agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to our superintendent staff report, we have a quarterly investment report and a quarterly financial executive summary.
Tasha, it's hard to believe that we're here again talking about the financial report and the quarterly investment report as well. Anything you'd like to speak to the board about in regard to the world of economics right now?
Well, as far as investments go, there's
You'll notice on the summary,
What'd y'all do, not give her a microphone? Did y'all take her microphone away from her or what? Okay, thank you. Come on, Rojo, do something.
On the schedule of revenues and expenditures for the quarter ended November 30, you'll notice there's each fund listed general, food service, debt service, and special revenue. The general fund revenues are pretty much right in line with the same way they were last year. The expenditures are a little up because we had more payroll, we had some construction projects finished, that type of thing. Food service revenues are up, which is a good thing. That's because we're feeding the kids all the time, so that's good. And then debt service is okay. Special revenue, you'll notice the big increase, and that's because of our ESSER funding. It's 68 million for our grants, federal and state grants, and last year it was around 21.6.
Wow.
So that's, any questions about any of it?
So expenditures this year versus last year, we brought all the kids back the first part of November, so there's some influence on that as well. We didn't fill some aid positions because we were somewhat virtual. I mean, we were 85-15, I think, by the time we said we're going to bring everyone back, and then we went 99-1. And so we started adding back about this time of year last year with our aides and other support positions that we just didn't really need when we had some kids on virtual.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Bjork? No? Thank you for your report. Okay, we have TASB update 118 on local policies, a bunch of them first reading, and then a few others first reading as far as B goes.
Yeah, Board, this is when you start getting a whole lot of TASB updates as the legislative session and special sessions are beginning to wrap up. Anything that has to do with state law or educational code will now be placed in here as well. There's some adjustments that TASB has decided to take some liberty to go ahead and make some adjustments. We'll have those identified for you in regard to keeping some things the way we like them here in Tyler, as opposed to what some attorney in TASB is telling us we need to do. So in case anybody out there is wondering that's a little code for we're not just all in aligned with everything going on there either. So page 100 is a good one to look at in DFE local. There's a few there that we like to Tylerize as we have done in the past, as opposed to just carte blanche going with what TASB has recommended and their lawyers. So if you have questions about those, feel free to give us a holler, or any of the contact people that are on the bottom of those pages.
Okay, yeah, and these are first readings, so we'll take our time to look through them, and we can give you any advisement or questions we might have over the time between now and the next meeting. So, okay, moving on to future business, we have a January 13th board workshop and January 24th, 2022 regular meeting. And then a Christmas break in between.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone.
You too. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.